Pence just destroyed any decent legacy he had. So if you don't know, Mike Pence said something normal and sensible 11 months too late. And all of a sudden, he's persona non grata in the Republican Party, and they hate him, and he's got to be taken down or some shit. Handle oil. Well, he didn't buy the oil when he could get it for free.
Right in the middle of all of this, he's been subpoenaed by the Democrats January 6th, unselected
Pence
committee. I'm talking about former White House advisor to President Trump. He is the host of the Gorka Reality Check here on Newsmax.
And he's wonderfully lit by some sort of bathroom light bulb over his head, or I don't know, it's quality. I didn't realize they let you sit under a street light under the bridge. This is where he moonlights as a goblin.
Dr. Sebastian Gorka is here. Dr. G, what do you...
It's Gorka, not Corka. And I honestly don't give a fuck. Please continue to mispronounce his stupid name.
Of Mike Pence's.
Also, what's with the head clearance? Who is your cameraman? Andrew Giuliani? I mean, honestly.
Grant, I'm going to say this once and hopefully never again. I don't know why you invited me on this segment, because that introduction was exactly what I was going to say and was a perfect summary. Okay?
That's great. And terrific, because they didn't put it in the clip. So for posterity's sake, all those hardworking folks over at Newsmax, I know some of you watch my show because you're very angry. Next time, if one of your guests references something that happened 10, 15 seconds before you start the clip, but maybe add that to the top of the clip so that people know what the fuck you're talking about. No? Why am I helping you? I mean, look, they call you, you work at Fiverr, and you do your best. You know what? You're not getting paid enough to do this extra work. I take it back.
Look, nobody, Mike, nobody was demanding you overturn anything. Stop blowing smoke.
Yeah, he was. Dude, he literally sent people down. Like, I want you to walk down there peacefully and patriotically, but if they don't do what you want, you're going to have to fight or you're not going to have a country back. Like, basically, don't tear up the grass on the way over there. But if Mike Pence hasn't stopped this shit by the time you arrive at the Capitol, fuck some shit up.
Lying, Mike, and you are destroying your reputation. What President Trump wanted, what I wanted, what every reasonable person wanted, is for you to send those results back to the state.
Yeah, that's unreasonable and stupid. There was no verification, no reasoning, no logic behind doing that at all. All the attempts to try and overturn it before it all failed. Fuck you, no.
The constitutional right in the electoral system to provide those electoral college results to you as the president of the Senate.
Nope.
And to ask them, hey.
By the way, as the president of the Senate, he's not in control of the Senate. He's the presider. He presides over it. He basically keeps order while the work gets done. He ain't the work. Any more than Kamala Harris is. She can vote with her party as an extension as the president. She can do a singular vote. But she doesn't say, well, my vote overrides all those votes. You split down the middle 50-50, I can wipe out, we don't even have a filibuster, 60-40, got it. If that was her capability, it would have also been Mike Pence's capability, and neither one of them has that power, nor would you want them to, because that's fucking dumb.
In accord with your state constitutions, because they weren't. Governors can't willy-nilly, like in...
Yes, they can. They all declared emergencies. Everything, every state and the entire federal government was under a state of emergency. Under those state of emergencies, you can modify election rules so that more people could vote because they can't go out and stand in line and spread an infectious disease. Every single one of them. Every state has special emergency. If there's a fucking flood or there's a tornado and it's on the week leading up to election day and it wipes out roads, the governor does not have to pull together the Senate in any particular state, in any of these states, Pennsylvania, Georgia, Wisconsin, Arizona, any of these fucking states, if they have a natural disaster that makes it nearly impossible for a huge swath of the populace to go out and vote, whether it's a pandemic or a fucking tornado or a hurricane or something, the governor doesn't have to pull them together, have them argue on a bill, pass it, and sign it to get the fucking votes happening. They can just go, it's an emergency. We're going to move this voting place over there because we don't want people to drown. All of it's under there. Like, none of this violated any state. Like, they've made this argument so many fucking times, and it's the dullest argument. And I don't know why. I mean, I know why they would, because they don't, they, like Jimmy Dore, don't believe we live in a democracy, and democracy sucks. And so they just want, the control to be in the upper houses of wherever they are. So the Senate, the Electoral College, and the governors themselves can just kind of willy-nilly control hand the government to whoever they like. And then they can outnumber certain states, even with lower population, because the states have, an equal number of governors, that kind of shit. They figure, we'll outnumber them with red states, even if they've got a fucking, 200,000 people in them. None of these states broke the law. None of these states violated their constitutions, their state constitutions about voting. Not a one. Because every single one of them was under a national emergency order signed by who is fucking president? And then individually, all of these states have signed these same orders. All the states were signing their state emergency orders, and the federal government did a blanket one over the entire fucking country. None of this matters. It's all, they've made this fucking argument for months, and we never really jumped on any of it because it's just it's been a waste of time. But it's nice to just cover it, if I could, just for a second.
Virginia, say, for the first time in the Commonwealth's history, we're not going to check the signatures on ballots. That's illegal.
No, it isn't. You can't, in a pandemic, you can't order people to have their votes only count if there's another person in the fucking house with them that might bring the disease over. Are you out of your fucking mind? Single mom, 2 kids, living at home. You have to let this dude come over and watch you sign your name. Does he have COVID? We don't know, because we're not even bothering to text. Like, fuck it. She dies, the kids are orphans. Great plan, guys. That's why. It didn't matter. This is fucking stupid. And the signatures are not on the ballots, on the envelope. You have the right to do that. If you believe in the Constitution, Mike, you should have done it. And I'll add one thing, and that's why I hope you invited me on your segment, Grant. By the way, Gorka seems ill. He's in front of a green screen, but it's not his normal place that he's on. He usually does it from his show, like from his radio set. He seems like he's got the gunk.
Issue. Mike, aren't you curious? Aren't you curious how in 4 battleground states, the results where the president was leading at 9 p.m.
when they were only counting the votes that happened on the day, and they waited because they have Republican legislatures to start counting the absentee votes till the next morning. I was up all night. I watched this thing. I didn't go to bed at 10:30, and neither did Trump, and neither did Gorka. That's all a fucking lie, too. We went to bed at 10:30, and we were winning. Then you wake up in the morning, and all these votes came out of nowhere. No, they didn't. I was up all night. Many of you, bless your hearts, were with me on election nights. Raise your hand in the chat room if you were one of the people who was there back when we had like 300 people in the chat on the regular. I stayed up. Everybody was so nervous about how the election was going to go. And I was like, you have nothing to worry about. Trump has fucked himself into a cocked hat. It's not going to happen. He's going to lose. And I will sit there holding your hand all goddamn night. And I did. We were up. We watched Steve Kornacki all night. Stuff was coming in. There was no moment where, oh my God, the votes all shut down for 3 fucking hours or whatever. It's all made up. It's fucking... We've been through this shit before. This is just lazy. There you go.
The counting stopped And then when they restarted the counting for...
After they had counted all the votes that were in person that day, which were largely Trump voters because they all thought that COVID was fake and that it was all just a setup. And then the day after, we weren't going to hear about COVID anymore, and it was all bullshit, and the vaccines are great and they're on their way, and then the vaccines are poison and you shouldn't take them and yada yada. Like, for Christ's sake.
Spurious
Thanks,
reasons.
guys.
Suddenly the president's lead was reversed.
Yes, when they counted all the votes. A lot of people are ahead. You don't get to stop the count when you're ahead, dumb. Oh, God, it's so aggravating. So stupid.
I'm curious. Aren't you curious, Mike Pence? How?
No, he's not, because he looked into it for months after the election. He talked to everybody. They talked to him. They were corralling him and haranguing him with all this bullshit evidence. And he was like, oh, yeah, this is all bullshit. There is nothing. I don't know why they're still talking about it, Templeton. Honest to God.
What happened? And is there any evidence that there was tampering in those
No. Next.
battleground states? Those are the two things you had every right as president of the Senate to take.
No, he didn't.
And you didn't do it. And that means your political reputation is done. It's finished.
No, actually, this is the only way he can salvage it. The fact that he did that, plus that it took him a year, but that he's basically going, Trump was wrong, I didn't have the ability to do this, and he sticks to it, is the only thing guaranteeing him a future. Because I'm sorry, but MAGA is on I'm sorry, I mispronounced it.
Magoo
is on a hard fade.
It's over.
And that's all anybody wanted, was just for an investigation.
That's all. All we wanted was for you to just stop it so we could pretend that Trump was president for 3 more months. Meanwhile, Nancy Pelosi would have been president. Let me say that again for the maggots in the cheap seats. Nancy Pelosi would have been president until such time that they arranged another election, which would not have been immediate. It would have been probably till the following November. So Nancy Pelosi would have had the House, the Senate, and been president of the United States for 10 fucking months. Do they think Trump just gets to stay in office till it's punted back? Dude's term is up unless he wins. If there's no winner, neither of those fucking guys goes. Neither of them. P.S. Biden stomped his ass. Biden laid waste upon them. And every time they look to find some fraud, they find some. And it's all Trump votes. Every time they look hard enough, then the Republicans are like, don't look, whatever you do, don't look. Why would you guys want us to look? I thought you guys were on the team. No, don't look. Why? Because you'll find that we threw out some Biden votes and we counted some Trump votes that shouldn't have been counted. Stop it. That's what's going on. Trump hates the very people who are just covering their own ass.
Was somebody to look into these things and get us some answers as to what's going on. And really, I'm still not satisfied with any.
I'm not. Yeah, well, that gives me some joy that Stankfield is unsatisfied. Get used to it. Imagine
of the answers. This is Joe Manchin. I'm going to play a clip for you because now they're pushing a law to take away the constitutional authority of what you just spelled out that might.
No, they're clarifying it so that nobody thinks he has this power again. See, a lot of times, a crime will be committed, or the obvious danger of a crime being committed will occur to everyone in the legislature. But even with that amount of forethought, they'll go, that probably won't step past this line. We probably only have to, the general broad strokes. People get it. You're not allowed to do that. And then you get to a point where somebody tries to weasel through loopholes they think exist in the law. And you're like, fuck, all right, we got to batten down the loopholes now. We never thought anybody would be that big of an asshole. So we should probably patch this hole in case there's another one that comes along. That's what this is about. They just don't want any ambiguity. because apparently just the peaceful exchange of power in the United States has too much ambiguity for the Republican Party.
And could have done. They're pushing this law because it is not a ceremonial position, the vice president just opening up envelopes.
Yes, it is.
Had the ability to actually do something of note, and that would have.
No, he doesn't. They're just clarifying. Just in case another asshole from your guys' corner of the court decides to come out and go, technically it doesn't say I can't elbow somebody in the groin. It just says high elbows are out of the, like, I can, like, Your Honor, there's nothing about low sticking in hockey. It's all high sticking. How was I supposed to know he wasn't wearing a cup?
Get some clarification in all of this. They want to change this law. This is Joe Manchin, the so-called moderate from West Virginia.
By the way, the idea that they're now like mad at Manchin, it's lovely.
What really caused the insurrection? They thought there was a kind of ambiguity, if you will, and there was an avenue they could go through and maybe overturn the election. Because there was. They're not protecting the electors, and you can change electors before you send them here, after the election, all these things. This is what we're going to fix.
Do you think it's going to?
Yes, they felt there was an ambiguity in the law, meaning the law should have covered this, but for some reason they thought because it didn't expressly say you can't, it meant you could. So we're going to change the law to mean you expressly cannot.
Yes.
No matter who's in office.
Absolutely, it'll pass.
Dr. G, in 30 seconds, if you can,
Dr.
please explain why we need to be so concerned about.
Excuse me, it's not Dr. G. It's
Dr. Evil.
That's right. Sorry.
Clip right there.
I'm just going to send a message to Manchin Murkowski. You've been duped. You come from rural states, West Virginia and Alaska. The Electoral College system is meant to protect the states that have rural populations.
No, it is not. No, it is not. That presumes that the highly populated states have something to gain in fucking rural states out of existence. And we don't. This is the same bullshit that we're dealing with Russia right now. Russians, we don't want any of your shit. You can sell your oil and gas until we no longer use it anymore, which is going to be quicker than you think. But we don't want your land. We don't want your rivers. We don't want to take over your cities. We don't want to convert you. We don't, like, the worst thing you have to worry about is a KFC and a fucking Starbucks. We're not interested. We're not that into you. Same thing with the rural states. California, New York, Illinois, Washington, Florida, Texas. None of us are like, how am I going to fuck up Iowa? Fuck those people in Wyoming. We got to find some way to squeeze them. Nonsense. And by the way, the Senate is definitely a way of protecting the rural states, the red states. The Electoral College isn't, or every state would have the same number of electoral votes, and they don't.
Metropolises like New York, like Boston, like LA don't control politics forever.
Yeah, Boston. Yeah, that's what it is. It's a big contingent of Boston going after Idaho.
That's the whole point of our genius system. And you've been had. You are going to undermine.
Again, the Electoral College system is based on population.
System that makes sure that rural states have as much as a voice as the big cities. Guys.
Yeah, land doesn't vote, people do.
Wake up. Murkowski, Manchin, wake up. You are undermining the Constitution to the cost of your constituents.
No, they aren't. And they're not listening. I don't know why you're speaking directly into the camera, hoping that somehow they take you seriously, Dr. Evil. They don't give a rat's ass what you say, or Steve Bannon says, or Stankfeld, or Greg Kelly, or any of these assholes. They're going to do what they're going to do. And you want to know why? You want to know why? Because just, a couple of days ago, Pence comes out and says Trump was wrong. And then what happens just a couple of days late? Whoops, wrong one. Sorry, I typed in the wrong field. What happens There we go. It'll probably be the. Yeah, here you go. McConnell.
Is it appropriate for the Republican National Committee to censure 2 sitting members of Congress and also use the words legitimate political discourse in talking about January 6th?
Well, let me give you my view of what happened January the 6th. And we're here. We're here. We saw what happened. It was a violent insurrection for the purpose of trying to prevent the peaceful transfer of power after a legitimately certified election from one administration to the next. That's what it was. With regard to the suggestion that the RNC should be in the business of picking and choosing Republicans who ought to be supported, traditionally the view of the National Party committees is that we support all members of our party, regardless of their positions on some issues.
Do you have confidence in her, Ronna McDaniel, as chairwoman of the committee?
I do, but the issue is whether or not the RNC should be sort of singling out members of our party who may have different views from the majority. That's not the job of the RNC.
Leader McConnell. Yeah. So that happened. That part. That's the part where this whole where they stopped. This is where his lighting went bad, and his ratings took a giant shit. Because no one is listening when you and I are enjoying this, because it's nice to watch them flail. But no one is listening to these fuckwads anymore. They aren't. Joni Ernst was standing right behind McConnell when he said that. And remember what, when Trump was supporting Joni Ernst, and he said she stood for, what was it?
For Iowa values.
That's right. For
Iowa values.
And if you don't know, Trump shit himself while he was trying to say the word Iowa.
For Iowa values.
He just turtled really hard and then just lost a hold of it. He just didn't have a grip.
Iowa values.
Right. So
God bless the United States. Thank you very much.
Yeah. So for Iowa values, nobody gives a rat's ass in the Republican Party what Gorka or Bannon are saying anymore. And they're mad at each other. And it's great. By the way, Dems in disarray, right? Right, CNN?
Yeah. So many people out there we could be yelling, wake up to. Those are just 2 of them. Dr. G, as always, thank you, my man. I appreciate you.
God bless you, Grant.
What a colossal waste of time for 2 gentlemen that don't have that much to waste, quite frankly. None of us do. No one knows how much time we have on this earth. So wasting moments blathering about bullshit like that, at least we get to enjoy watching it and mocking it and making fun of it. But imagine being called on to that show to say that shit to nobody.